So Chris Eubank Jr. and Chris Eubank Sr. once again failed to turn up to a press conference for Eubank Jr.'s fight with Billy Joe Saunders, which is coming up at the end of this month. Now, the official reason that the Eubanks have given for not turning up is that they're worried about Billy Joe pulling some type of stunt, slapping Chris Eubank Jr. because he's threatened to slap him on camera before. And basically they're saying that they don't like the way Billy Joe is behaving. It's bad for boxing. They don't like the things that he's saying. He seems very erratic. So they don't want to put Eubank Jr. in a position where he could end up getting into a physical altercation with Billy Joe before the fight itself takes place. And Eubank Jr. went as far as saying that he wants 50 grand deposited in an escrow account by Frank Warren in the event that Billy Joe does end up, physically attacking Eubank Jr., that 50 grand would be kept by the Eubanks. They want that guarantee. I really don't know what to make of it. I don't know whether it's psychology from the Eubanks, whether it's genuine worry that Billy Joe could do something like that, or whether it's just the fact that Eubank Sr. and Frank Warren clearly don't like each other and clearly don't get along. In fact, I think it's probably a combination of all three. I think part of it is to do with the fact that they're trying some psychological game. And another part is that they actually do think Billy Joe Saunders is a little bit erratic and could do something. And at the same time, and probably I think the biggest factor in this is the beef between Eubank Sr. and Frank Warren. I don't know where this beef started. I don't know what the root of it is. Maybe it was the antics, the fast one that Frank Warren tried to pull on the Eubank camp when he tried to pressure them into signing a contract, which they hadn't even looked at properly because they were out of the country in Las Vegas. And Eubank Jr. was actually sparring out in Las Vegas around the time period when Floyd Mayweather had his rematch with Marcus McDonough. That's a fact. So they were out of the country at this time when they were being pressured to sign this contract. And when they got back in the country, they only had a few days before Frank Warren called the press conference. So their legal team legitimately probably didn't have enough time to look through that contract properly, with the Eubanks present. You never want to look for a contract with your lawyer on the phone, right? That's ridiculous. You want to be present with your lawyer while you look for a contract so you could ask them questions face to face and he can explain everything to you. So that was a valid point by the Eubanks. I wonder whether that was where Eubank really got upset and said, you know what, from now on, I'm going to be as awkward as possible with Frank Warren. And I'm not going to do anything that's outside of the contract because, he didn't even confirm that they would be fighting Billy Joe Saunders until I think the morning of the press conference, which they did actually attend and Billy Joe didn't attend because they say that it was only that morning that the British Board of Boxing Control actually sanctioned the fight. So Eubank said in the press conference that he's trying to do everything by the letter and everything to the contract. And he pointed out that Warren has broken the contract about 3 or 4 times and Warren didn't deny it. Right? I don't know how he broke it or, how minor or major the infringements were, but Warren certainly didn't deny it at that press conference that the Eubanks did actually turn up to. But this latest one, they didn't show up. And I can understand Warren's frustration, obviously, because Warren is struggling, right? He's got Eddie Hearn in there, who's a major rival for him over on Sky and really killing it at the moment. And Warren and Box Nation are struggling compared to Eddie Hearn and Sky. So they need this fight between Eubank Jr. and Billy Joe Saunders to be as big as it can possibly be. That's why there are so many press conferences that they're having. It's unusual to have the amount of press conferences that Frank Warren's been having for a lot of his fights. For Fury Chisora, there was a ridiculous amount of press conferences already. And he's looking to try and do the same with Billy Joe Saunders and Eubank Jr. And like I say, for a struggling outfit, you can understand why they want to have all these press conferences because they need to sell the tickets. And it might be I don't know what kind of contract they've got with Frank Warren, whether ticket sales are really going to matter to the Eubanks in terms of the money they're getting. I don't know. But if it does, then it's obviously counterproductive. And just in terms of Eubank's profile, it's counterproductive. It would benefit them to make this fight as big as possible. They don't necessarily have to take, part in press conferences, although they are obligated to take part in the final press conference, or they'll get fined a hell of a lot of money, and they're obligated to show up at the weigh-in as well. Well, Eubank Jr. anyway. So they have to do those. But there's another press conference earlier in the week, on the week of the fight, which they may not turn up to. And they obviously didn't turn up to this one. So, from a promotional standpoint, it's not going to make the fight as big if people don't see these guys together. If people don't have the confidence that the fight is going to go ahead. Because, we're in a climate in boxing at the moment where we've had a lot of pullouts. And pullouts very close to fights as well, last minute pullouts. So the public need the confidence that a fight is going to go ahead. And if a guy is not showing up to press conferences, a lot of fans are going to say, well, is this fight really going to happen? That's what people are going to say. So, yeah, I can understand Frank Warren's point of view, but I can also understand the Eubank's point of view. If the reason why Senior is being awkward is because of that altercation that he had with Frank Warren, where Warren tried to pull a fast one. I can understand both sides, but at the end of the day, I don't think this stuff is really going to matter that much. When fight time comes, it's all going to come down to who's the better man, who's the better fighter. My mind is always changing on this particular fight, because I do think Eubank Jr.'s got the talent, but I just wonder whether he's confident enough. Because experience gives you confidence. And Eubank hasn't been there like Billy Joe's been there. He's going to need that confidence to fight to the best of his ability and fight a strategic fight and do what he has to do to Billy Joe Saunders. So does he really have that deep down inner confidence? I know he's got a lot of brash bravado and stuff like that, and he's very confident in interviews, and he's very confident against these journeymen that he's been fighting. But when he's in there with a legitimate fighter, will he still be so confident? What happens if Billy Joe's outboxing him? What happens if Billy Joe's putting the pressure on and getting to him? How's Eubank going to cope with that? Yeah, he might have done things in gyms, but the pressure's not on in the gym. With a handful of people there, there's no pressure. But in a big profile fight like this, by far the biggest profile fight that he's been involved in, there's pressure. Will he be able to handle that pressure? Does he have enough experience on his side to be able to handle it? I don't know. That's why at the moment, again, I might flip-flop and change again. But at the moment, I'm leaning towards Billy Joe in this fight, winning this fight. Because I'm just not sure about that experience, man. I don't know. But drop your comments below. Let me know how you feel about these antics that have been happening with the press conference and what have you. Yeah, this is Hatman. I'm out.